Hello students, myself KK Mishra, selected in NEET PMT 99 way back. In the previous session, we have talked about the types of respiration, the respiratory process and the respiratory organs. Now, in this session, we will talk about the steps, various steps involved in respiration. These are about 5 steps. There are 5 steps which involved in respiration. Number 1 is breathing or ventilation. This is the first step during which we breathe in and breathe out the air. Next step is exchange of gaseous exchange of gases between alveoli and blood. Now the third step. During the third step involved in respiration, the transport of gases occurs between lungs and tissues. The transport of gases. During next step of respiration, the exchange of gases or diffusion of gases occurs between blood and tissues. Of gases between blood and tissues. And during the final step of respiration, what happens? During the final aspiration of steps, with the help of the oxygen we are taking during this process into the cells, with the help of this oxygen, the glucose is stepwise broken down to release energy, which can be used in growth and repair of our tissues. So the final step is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. Okay, so these are various steps. First one is breathing or ventilation. Next one is exchange of gases between alveoli and blood, which could also be called as external respiration. Next one is transport of gases. Next is diffusion of gases between blood and tissue, and the final step is cellular respiration. So now let us see these processes in detail. The first one is breathing or ventilation. Now the breathing or ventilation. Breathing or ventilation involves 2 steps: inspiration or inhalation and expiration or exhalation. That is, during inspiration we breathe in the air and during expiration we breathe out the air. So this inspiration and expiration makes a respiratory cycle, and between 2 respiratory cycles there occurs a small period of pause. So it makes the total 3 phases in respiration. 3 phases in respiration. What are these phases? In breathing, 3 phases in breathing you can say. The first is inspiration or you can say inhalation. Second one is expiration or exhalation, and third is a small period of pause. So these are the 3 phases. Now these phases, the respiratory, inspiratory and expiratory, these and pause makes a respiratory cycle, and normally we respire at the rate of 12 to 15 times per minute, depending upon the stages of, depending whether we are exercising or we are sitting or sleeping or just relaxing. It depends upon our rate of respiration. Normally we respire at the rate of 12 to 15 times per minute. And now what happens during inspiration and expiration? Let us see in detail. During normal or quiet breathing, when we normally take the air, what happens? The inspiration is a active process. Inspiration is an active process because we expend our metabolic energy to inspire. So it is active process, while the expiration is a passive process because it occurs passively along the pressure gradient. Expiration is a passive process. Now the structure of respiration, the main structures of respiration. So here are the main structure of respiration. These are external intercostal muscles and the diaphragm. As the name indicates, intercostal, costal means ribs and inter means in between. In between the ribs there occurs muscle known as intercostal muscle, and the muscle which lies external is external intercostal muscles. So here are the main structure for respiration. First is external intercostal muscles, and next one is diaphragm. And all of you should know that diaphragm is the characteristic of mammals. In mammals, a special structure occurs between thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity, or you can say the structures that separates the thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity is diaphragm. So these external intercostal muscle and diaphragm are the main structures involved during inspiration. Now let us talk about the mechanism of respiration. The mechanism of respiration. What happens during a normal respiration? Before we could see, we have to take the help of the structure of thoracic cage or thoracic cavity. Thoracic cage or thoracic cavity, the rib cage makes the ventral wall, this ventral wall of the thoracic cavity, while the diaphragm, this is diaphragm. Diaphragm is a dome-shaped structure that separates the thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity. It marks the posterior, the floor of, you can say, thoracic cavity, and it is vertebral column which present on the dorsal side of thoracic cavity. So these are the structures. Number one is rib cage. Number two is diaphragm. And what happens during normal inspiration and what happens during normal expiration can be studied with the help of these structures. During normal breathing, what happens during inspiration? Inspiration. What happens? During inspiration, the external intercostal muscles contract. External intercostal muscles contract, causing the rib cage to grow upwards and outwards. This is outward and this is upward, causing the rib cage like this, thereby causing the intrathoracic volume, this intrathoracic volume in dorsoventral axis, causing increase in intrathoracic volume in dorsoventral axis. And the phrenic muscles of diaphragm, the phrenic muscles of diaphragm contracts. Normally diaphragm is dome-shaped structure like this. When diaphragm contracts, the phrenic muscles of diaphragm contracts. They make the diaphragm flattened like this, and so the intrathoracic volume increases in anterior-posterior axis. So diaphragm goes downwards and thereby increase in intrathoracic volume in anterior-posterior axis. All these two things cause the intrathoracic volume increase, and increase in volume causes what? Increase in volume causes intrathoracic pressure to decrease below what? Below the atmospheric pressure. And all you know that atmospheric pressure is about 760 mm Hg at sea level. Sea level पे ये atmospheric pressure है. When the intrathoracic pressure decreases, comes down below atmospheric pressure, what happens? The atmospheric air comes or breathed in or inhaled in the thoracic cavity. It is inspiration. So during inspiration, external intercostal muscles contract, causing rib cage to go upward and outward. While what happens with the diaphragm? When the phrenic muscles of diaphragm contracts, the diaphragm becomes flattened from its original dome shaped. Diaphragm flattened. And these two things cause what? These two things cause increase in thoracic volume, and increase in thoracic volume cause what? Thereby decrease in intrathoracic pressure. As the intrathoracic pressure decreases below the atmospheric pressure, the air breathed in or inhaled. This is the mechanism of inspiration. It results in inspiration, which is an active process because the contraction of external intercostal muscle and the contraction of phrenic muscles of diaphragm, both of these require the metabolic energy. That's why inspiration is active process. What happens during expiration? During expiration, all of you know that expiration is a passive process. Why? During expiration, the external intercostal muscles and diaphragm, the phrenic muscles of diaphragm, both relaxes, and as the external intercostal muscles relaxes, it causes to the rib cage to come downward and inward to their original position. So the thoracic volume decreases in dorsoventral axis, while the diaphragm from the flattened stage comes back to its original dome shaped state, and it becomes from this state to it becomes like this. So the thoracic volume again decreases in anteroposterior axis. As the thoracic volume decreases, what happens? The intrathoracic pressure increases, and as the intrathoracic pressure increases or exceeds above atmospheric pressure, the air from the lung breathed out or exhaled. This is the mechanism of expiration. So during expiration, external intercostal muscles and diaphragm relaxes and comes back to their original position, causing decrease in thoracic volume, and this decrease in thoracic volume causes increase in intrathoracic pressure. And this increase in intrathoracic pressure, as the intrathoracic pressure exceeds atmospheric pressure, the air from inside the thoracic cavity, air from inside the lung goes or passively along the pressure gradient, goes passively out. This is expiration or exhalation, and this is the mechanism of normal inspiration and expiration. During normal quiet breathing, what happens during deep breathing? During deep breathing, there are some more muscles. A muscle is known as internal intercostal muscles. Again, it lies between ribs, and it lies internally to external intercostal muscle. The internal intercostal muscle and the abdominal muscles contract. What causes this? The internal intercostal muscles contract, pulling the rib cage little more towards inward, while the abdominal muscles contract, creating an upward pressure on the diaphragm. So the diaphragm goes little upwards, thereby causing little more decrease in thoracic volume, and it results in increase in more intrathoracic pressure, causing forceful expiration. So during deep breathing, the internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles contracts, which causes forceful expiration. This occurs during deep breathing. And there are some accessory muscles of respiration. Accessory muscles of respiration. These are called into action when forceful breathing occurs. These muscles are sternomastoid, or you can say sternocleidomastoid. Next one is scaleni, and third is Elynazi. So these are accessory muscles of respiration: sternomastoid, scaleni, and Elynazi. Now this is the mechanism of respiration. Let us brief it out. During inspiration, two muscles, external intercostal muscles and diaphragm contracts, causing the rib cage. External intercostal muscles when contracts, causing rib cage to go upward and outward, and thereby increase in intrathoracic volume in dorsoventral axis, while the diaphragm contracts and become from dome shape, it becomes flattened and causes the thoracic volume to increase in anteroposterior axis. Both of these results in increase in thoracic volume, which causes decrease in intrathoracic pressure. So inspiration, which is an active process, because both a contraction of external intercostal muscles and contraction of phrenic muscles of diaphragm require what? Expenditure of energy. That's why inspiration is active process, while during expiration, what happens? Both external intercostal muscles and diaphragm relaxes, and they comes back to their original position, thereby decrease in thoracic volume and increase in thoracic pressure, which causes passive expiration. And during deep breathing, internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles contracts, which causes forceful expiration. So these are the steps involved in respiration. During next lesson, we will talk about the volume and capacities of lung. If you have any problem regarding this session or regarding any tutorial you have any problem in any topic, you can say there is problem. आपको कोई टॉपिक समझ में नहीं आता या फिर आपको लगता है कि उस टॉपिक को थोड़ा डिटेल में समझना चाहिए, कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, उससे क्वेश्चन ज़्यादा आते हैं और आप उसको उस लेवल पे नहीं कर पाते, तो आप इस वीडियो के नीचे जो कमेंट बॉक्स है उसमें कमेंट करें एंड आई विल come back to you surely. So thanks.